Hey guys, this is IntroducingEmy with another episode of 100 Days of Making Comics, and it's actually been quite a while since I've recorded. I've been doing things, and yeah, so I just thought today we'll go over some of the redos I've been doing lately, and what I've been wasting my 30 minutes on every day, and yeah, and then hopefully the next video I'll do some drawing stuff. Okay, so actually I don't know. Let me open one more page here. Okay, so this was the last page I did on camera, and I remember specifically doing like the shading for this panel. I don't remember if I did the whole page or not, but anyway, so here it is finished. The biggest thing that you're going to notice is that the filter for like the sepia tone aged look for the flashbacks is more vibrant, and it's been like that through all my redos. I basically just changed the setting on the filter to make, you know, the white spider and your bright spider and all that stuff. So yeah, you're gonna notice that. The other big thing is I have flipped the camera a lot, and I've gotten a lot of questions about this, and basically I don't want to break the 180 rule, which was something I was educated on by Yamano, who writes Sister Claire. So yeah, go read that comic. But also, yeah, so the 180 rule is basically you always want the camera to be on one side of the characters or the other. You don't want to constantly be like rotating around, because the audience will get confused where they are standing in relationship to each other. So in this scene, for example, Phyllis is standing with her back to her bedroom door, and Walter is facing his back out into the hallway, and I'm trying to stay on Walter's right and Phyllis's left, so my camera never goes beyond this invisible line, this invisible plane between the two of them. So that's the biggest thing you're going to notice. Also, just in general, their interactions are more like physical with each other, or, you know, bigger, like this little whatever. But this is so much better. I love that. Okay, so back to this. I added, so you can see I flipped it again here, because it looks like now I'm on the other side. I'm up facing Walter's left shoulder. She's okay. She's in the right position. The biggest thing I did here was I added a panel kind of showing Walter like walking away, like down the hallway, and another panel showing Phyllis actually putting the rose in the vase. This was kind of a last minute addition. I don't remember if I did this like when I actually went. Yeah, I did ink this on. Sometimes when I come up with another panel, I'll just make a new layer and draw it real quick on top and like try to color it, make it look nice. Especially for these redos, I kind of do everything roughy, loosey goosey just to get the pages done. I also referenced the model I made of Phyllis's bedroom. I forget when I made that model. It was quite a while ago, but I used that model to do this very new nice background and everything. I'm a little sad. She has a crucifix above her bed back here and a Bible on her nightstand, which is a big part of her character, and I kind of wish I could have shown it, but that's okay. It's not even here in the old version. It's in the model, though. Maybe some other day I can show it. And also added in all this vibrant red. This is the same color of red I used for Rose's hair in the comic, so yeah. Also, this background right here of the doorknob, oops, sorry, is actually the same background that I had before. I just drew over top of it and cleaned it up a little bit. So yeah, it's one of the few backgrounds I was able to actually save from the old pages. It's rare that I can save any of that. I'm sorry, we got a lot of pages to go through, so, you know, buckle in. So this is the infamous Phyllis getting, oops, what happened here? Oh, that's right, I deleted the old inks on accident. Okay, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it. It used to have inks. I'll have to go dig it out of a different file, but it was just Phyllis unbuttoning her shirt, Phyllis brushing her hair in front of the mirror, and then that panel of EB1 talking to Phyllis. It's basically all the same, except they added another little buffer panel that shows Phyllis dropping her jacket onto her bed, and there's part of her skirt right there. I did these little lacy doily patterns behind her, and I also completely updated her not night clothes, her underwear. So they're all white and pretty now, which is more accurate to the time period. And I also got rid of that tie, which oh no, she didn't have the tie. I thought she had the tie through the whole old scene. She had a tie around her neck. I thought she did anyway. I was wrong. So yeah, here's this. All redone. Ta-da. This is the next page. I'm kind of not super chuffed about the way this telepathic green looks with the sepia. I don't know. It just, I'm not a big fan of it. I prefer the way the red looks, obviously. The biggest thing I changed here was I decorated the doorway where EB1 is kept, or his little cell, you know. And he's actually standing here in this old panel, but not a lot of people notice him. So in the new version, I just made sure that he stands out a little more. And I added this red light above the door, which is important for later. And other than that, it's nearly, this page is nearly identical with no big changes. Like I didn't add any panels or anything like that. So basically the same layout and everything. Yep. Next page. Again, nearly identical so far as the layouts and everything. Poses are just a lot more dynamic. Everything's drawn a little better. Though, I kind of wish I would have done something a little different here. I mean, it looks okay, whatever, but I keep thinking she's kind of doing like a jazz hands pose. I don't know. The pose is weird for me, but I guess it makes sense. I also added like a gagging sound effect or vocalization for Phyllis. In general, another thing I've been doing is redrawing all these sound effects so that they no longer use copyrighted fonts. Most of them, I don't even know what the fonts were. I converted the old sound effects files into images, so I can't even like look it up. It would be really time consuming. I don't care. So it's quicker to just redraw all the sound effects. And I think my handwriting's okay, like the gag sound effect and the clatter sound effect. That's all my handwriting. So I don't know. I'm pretty chuffed with it. Maybe I'll do like a little sound effect tutorial at some point. Okay. So this is the page where Walter hears the door slamming and he comes to rescue Phyllis. The biggest thing I did was I dropped this panel, which was sort of just like this expression down here, and then he sort of has this realization. I didn't feel like I needed that. Like, he's kind of already making that face, so just get to the shock and then get running. When I was first doing comics, I was really coming down out of this like storyboard mode from college where like every movement and stuff you really illustrated all that stuff out because storyboards are for like a whole different type of storytelling than comics are. Comics, you can like leave some stuff up to the imagination. People will infer movement between panels and things like that, which is something I was not really familiar with at the time. The other thing I changed was his running pose. I wanted him to be a little more, I don't remember what the issue was. I don't think I wanted him running this direction because he technically changes directions between pages to be facing the other direction. So I kind of, I was actually working on this in a stream and a fan came up with a good idea to have him running like towards the camera. And it turned out really nice. And I like how he's kind of like bursting out of this panel. I think it has like a lot of action and stuff going on. And again, re-illustrated redrew the sound effect for the boom of the door slamming shut instead of slam. Yeah. I'm also trying to use more like round panels. I think they look cool. Okay, so this is when Walter finds the brush outside of her door, or outside of EB1's door, I should say. Again, basically the exact same panels, just more excitement and stuff going on. And this is the importance of the red light above the door. I wanted there to be this like red presence in the panels, but I didn't want to just draw like, I didn't just want to have like a red glow coming from nowhere. I wanted it to have like an origin in, you know, the scenery. So I added that red emergency light above EB1's door. I don't know what it means. Like, I don't know what that would, what the purpose of that means. I guess, you know, red light on means alien in the room. I don't know. I just wanted it there. One of the silliest things I'm proud of, besides its arm and this whole thing, this whole action here, is the wham 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 in the back. I don't know, I just really like the way that looks, as opposed to just this little teeny wham wham wham, little baby whams there. I also changed it so that Walter approaches the door in a more straight on fashion, as opposed to this kind of wonky angle coming in from the right, and then suddenly he's more like straight on in front of the door. I didn't like that. I like everything to like be coming and going from the same directions and stuff now. It just makes everything easier. I think it helps set up the scene so everybody understands what's going on and stuff. So, yeah. Next. So then the door opens and EB1 thrusts Phyllis out of the door. Red light behind her, creating like this halo. This is also the first time, yeah, the first time that Phyllis brings up red, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And, which is a big symbolic thing in the comic. And I love the silhouette of Walter. It's just, this is a great scene. Are you prepared to see the old version? Ew. So boring. So storyboarded. Just, I couldn't keep the 180 thing in the right direction. She comes out one way. He's holding her a different way. It's just, I hate it. I hate it. So much better. Not to mention, so dumb, I love to draw kind of like under boob, under jaw. Like, I love this angle of like looking up at a girl. So, yeah, I don't know. So then he drops her. So what I did was I kind of moved panels from the previous old page onto this one. But basically, other than adding this panel, yeah, it's pretty much the same. The only one I changed was this one. You're not looking over his shoulder to see her there anymore. Was there anything else? Oh yeah, she looks a little more sad as she's fainted here, or I don't know. She's also got like little tears coming off of her eyes. It's a little hard to see in this panel, but it's a little clearer here. So it's like she's been sort of like traumatized, though I wanted it to be sort of non-specific trauma, though a lot of people have made very violent assumptions about this scene that kind of freaked me out a little bit. So anyway, there's more than one way to be traumatized, people. Everybody calm down. The other thing is I added in the background in just this panel to establish, like, yeah, they're still in the hallway, but other than that, they're pretty much just gray backgrounds for the rest of it. The only thing that I'm kind of wishing I would have done is you can't see the hairbrush anymore. You don't see Walter dropping it to the ground to grab Phyllis. But it's one of those things that I feel like people figure it out, you know? Like, he doesn't have, like, it's not in his hand there, and that was the hand he was holding it in. So, yeah. Next. And then he runs away with Phyllis, and again, in the old page you could kind of see EB1's head here. I think that's about it. In fact, let me try to, yeah, you can kind of see his one arm there. Again, the filter's pretty dark on the old page, so you can't really make it out. Again, I wanted to have Walter running in the same direction that he came from, so he runs straight away from the door. And you can see EB1 standing back there. And then, oops, that's not what I wanted. There we go. This is the only thing that I left kind of storyboardy in the new one with the hairbrush out here. And again, I flipped it so that it's not breaking the 180 roll. Oh, God, the camera's just all over the place in these little pages. Like, for these shots here, the camera would be, like, down here somewhere. And then I would, like... Oh, man, it just doesn't make any sense. Let's go back to the new one. So, yeah, trying to keep everything looking decent and from the same direction. I also redrew this hand like a million times. You know, ugh, man, I had trouble with that hand. I did all kinds of different versions of it. That was the one I finally settled on that I liked a lot. Okay, and that's the end of the flashback. And now I'm working on these new, this scene with Quadski going to visit Chrysalis to get the Trine-Human circuit. The biggest thing here is that Magnus is like really on model now, as opposed to the old pages where he just... I just couldn't draw Magnus. I didn't like drawing him. I had to find joy in drawing him before I could draw him well. I also really cleared up this establishing shot of the hallway right outside of Chrysalis' room. I made Quadski and Magnus just bigger in general. This is closer to how I actually imagine it, where they're not... The doors aren't like these giant... You can see how tall the door here is compared to Magnus and Quadski, so I made them more proportionate to the size of the door and the hallway and all that. And also you can see Magnus's wings. I remember when Magnus came back, I can't remember when I showed him. I think 8 was having like a flashback about him and telling Roger, if you're not familiar with the comic, then don't worry about any of this, but I had 8 telling Roger about Magnus, and I showed him, and he had wings, and a lot of people were like, oh, I didn't know Magnus had wings, and I realized you can't really see them in any of the old pages, so I wanted at least one good establishing shot that Magnus has wings, and then you can kind of see them here and in some other shots later on. So yeah, and I also made this interaction between Quadski and Magnus more intense. Whereas in the old page, he's just like, yeah, leave. Now he's really like, get out of here. I wanted to show some serious contemption. Contemption? Is that a word? Contemption between the two of them, and he's even kind of like spitting a little bit. So, yeah. Oh, and of course, just Quadski being super obnoxious and kind of like singing his greeting to Magnus, which was something that was not in the old page. In the original layout for this page, I had Quadski like whistling. I don't know if it shows in my old... No, it's not here in my old sketches. Oh wow, this is interesting. See, I don't even look at my old sketches usually when Magnus is leaning against the door here. This is like a totally different kind of background. I really used to just kind of do whatever I wanted when it came to inking. Like, I would have one thing sketched, but I would get so far off. Like, look, he's like leaning against the wall here, and in the redo, he's standing up. Or maybe no, he is leaning. Jeez, I thought he was standing. God, it's been so long since I've worked on these pages. Anyway, let's get going on to the next one. So this is the newest version. I changed the way that she calls for Chrysalis is in the room, and she calls for Magnus to let Quadski go so he can come in and see her. So that word bubble got changed to be one of those, I don't know what you call that, like an internal word bubble, like it's coming from another room. And also Magnus is still like holding Quadski here from the previous panel. Whereas here, they're just kind of like leaning in, and they're just not interacting. They feel like they're not even like in the same scene or something. And just general Quadski being a jerk, and Magnus being a jerk, and everybody's a jerk. I also had Quadski enter Chrysalis' room from the other side, because in the original, he's standing to the left of Magnus. Sorry, I have trouble telling my left and my right. He's standing to the left of Magnus, but he enters from the right, which doesn't really make any sense. It's like he came over here and stood in front of Magnus to push the door open. So I restaged the whole shot so that he's approaching from the left, which makes more sense too anyway, since this is the way you read it. You read from the left, so you see Quadski going into the room. The background here, of Chrysalis' bedroom, I basically just saturated it and then sharpened it and painted over a few things. One of the things I added was behind her snake bed is a full-length mirror and a little like beautician station, like a little makeup table. I don't know what you call that. And she also has an eggshell on a stand. The mirrors were added in the newest version. They weren't in the old one. The egg stand was there. It just wasn't very sharp. It wasn't really easy to see, so I painted it really nice. So hopefully it stands out a lot more along with the banner above it and everything. And yeah, Chrysalis though, she still looks pretty much the same. Yeah. Next. Thanks for bearing with me while I go through all these pages. This is the next one. I wanted to have a full body shot of Chrysalis here rather than just this shot of her saying nothing and staring out into space. So I put this nice full body drawing here, and she's puffing out some smoke, and the text is... I'm a little like not fond of having a lot of dialogue of characters off camera and stuff. There's something about this, though, that feels okay. I've had multiple people tell me that, you know, it's obvious if it's done well, so hopefully I'm doing it well. You know, obvious as to who's talking and everything. Chrysalis is a little rough on this page because this was the first time I had drawn her as a Reptoid, actually in the comic, in a million years, especially with my more new and improved art style, so a little bit shaky going at first, but I think it turned out okay. Let's do the next page. Oops. This page I think turned out really nice. Again, Chrysalis and Quadski keep kind of turning and facing in different directions, so that was something I really wanted to clean up. I also didn't feel there was any need for them to be like in two different shots here. I mean, Quadski's standing right next to Chrysalis. There's no reason to not just show them standing next to each other. And also this scene with the egg, this was so important to me, and almost nobody remembers that this was here. Most people don't even see it, which is, I totally get it. It's just not very obvious. So I restaged this whole thing so that, again, Chrysalis and Quadski are now standing next to each other and like having a conversation and actually sort of making eye contact with each other. Well, at least she's looking at him. He's looking out into, you know, profound sadness. But then here I restaged this whole egg scene. I wanted the egg to be between them, and I tried some different things. I actually have a model of Chrysalis' room and like a really roughed out, it's not very good. It's just like very bare bones, but I put two humanoid models in that were supposed to be stand-ins for Quadski and Chrysalis, and then I put the egg on the other side of the room where it's supposed to be, and no matter like how I put the camera, it didn't look good and it didn't work. So I just swung the camera around a little bit more and, you know, painted their nice little egg over here, and then they look good together next to each other and everything, and yeah. Also, like, it's a long shot of where they're standing next to each other, and I think that's important. So, and then this shot, actually, I think it's exactly the same. Pretty much, except I turned Quadski around. I don't know why maybe I just didn't know how to draw him from behind and didn't want to do it in the old pages, but now it's nearly the same shot. He's just flipped around. God, she looks so much bigger than him now, which I like. She is supposed to be, like, a little more physically impressive than he is. This is the last one I just did, 2 days ago, I think. And, oh my god, this page took forever. I was so miserably sick while I was working on it. I don't even want to, like, get into this whole thing right now. I'll do it on a different video. Basically, our plumbing broke. I got a stomach flu or a stomach bug of some kind, and the whole time that they were here trying to fix our plumbing, I was getting sick, and it was awful. So yeah, this page will forever be my sick page. But other than that, I think it turned out really good compared to the old one. Nothing really changed other than, you know, new art style, new backgrounds, but the staging and everything is all the same. I've kind of got a new rule especially when I'm drawing the reptoids and stuff, that I don't want to have them like looking off in random directions if they're supposed to be looking at another character. So like, for instance, Quadski, he's like looking off in a random direction. That's fine. I want him to do that there because he's kind of like, you know, Hugh, like he's thinking about something. And Chrysalis then, in this panel, seems like she's looking off in another direction. But here she's actually supposed to be looking straight on at Quadski, so what I did was I re-centered her eyes so that she looks like really intent on him now. I don't know, it's a subtle thing, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but yeah. And again, down here, Magnus, he's listening in on their conversation, and then he's giving the old shifty eye, you know, because he's thinking about things related to the comic. But anyway, so that is the most recent page that I've redone, and I'm in the middle of the next one, which I may or may not do on camera. We'll see. I'm just trying to crank out as many of these as possible. I'm either at 45% or a little over, I can't remember, but I'm like closing in on the halfway mark, and I'm really excited for that because after the scene with Quadski and Chrysalis and Magnus and all these complicated reptoids, it's just grays for like the next half of the comic, or the next half of this volume that I'm working on, and the grays are really easy to draw, and I can get those pages done super, super fast. So looking forward to that. It'll be like going downhill on a roller coaster, you know. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with me for this 100 Days Making Comics video. I might have some big news about the channel soon. We'll see. I can't really go into it right now, but yeah, stuff's gonna be happening soon. I'm sorry for the lack of videos over the past like week or so. Hell, for the last like 3 weeks. So, but I'll try to get more back on the ball with everything. All right, I will see you guys next time. Bye.